Do you understand that you can lose this money with a very big probability?
Tell everyone, fuck off. I'm leaving. I just sold you. And I don't know what's going to happen with your lives in the future,
There are some investors who are really investing in the founders and they want to see the founder grow and to make a success story and be part of it.
You should invest in humanoid robot stocks because that's going to be the next big boom, basically.
You don't need to strive for the biggest investment. You need to understand how much do you need.
If you're just saving money, inflation is going to kill it in the end.
You can create the market, you can follow the market, or you can be out of the market.
How is cash king if the same cash you had yesterday is no longer the same after 1 year?
Gold is still very well trusted.
Personally, the debt I see we take as a country is refinancing.
Are we doing enough? I think we can do more.
If you're not part of the solution, you're automatically part of the problem. Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to yet another episode of VUnstaged with yet another special guest. I only keep inviting special guests, so I will not spoil the show. Without too much further ado, if you can tell us who you are, meaning your name, what do you do for a living, and of course, how did you get into this beautiful world of tech?
Cool. Hi, I'm Dima. I'm 27 years old. I'm from Tiraspol. And what I'm doing for a living right now, I'm working as a financial director at a crowd lending platform, which is a Fintech from Moldova. And how did I get to tech? Well, it started, I think, with my background in finance.
Yeah.
And I was quite passionate about the venture capital industry, but it wasn't that possible to obtain an opportunity to work in the venture capital in Moldova. So the only
Do we have such a thing in Moldova?
We created one. I can talk more about it. And so it started with there is a tech community of early stage startups in Moldova. There are some organizations, accelerators, and one of the founder at the accelerator, he wanted to create an angel syndicate. So basically this community of the investors, private investors that invest in the early stage tech startup. And I was at one of the events organized by them. And we got to talk with him at the networking afterwards with a glass of wine and so on. And he said,
"Too bad we don't have a glass of wine today."
Yeah, it's how it's starting, at least in Moldova.
Yeah.
And then we got a talk that, look, he's planning to create something with, venture capital, private investment, early stage startups, and so on. And at that time, I was working at the commercial bank as a business consultant. So I had some portfolio companies, but that was traditional ones where I was serving some banking services. For most, it was like loan and so on. And I was very passionate about what's going on in the tech, what's going on in the VCs and so on. And I took the decision to accept the offer to create from the ground, from zero, and the first angel syndicate in Moldova. And that was my first interaction with the tech, but on the investment side.
Yeah.
We have started with 2 or 3 investors at maybe I think 3 years ago. And then we have started, to put the processes to source the startups, to get to know the founders, to understand.
So is it like a true VC or it's more like angel investor type of thing?
It's like an business angel network, club, syndicate, community, you name it. It's not, it's institutional venture capital firm where you have a big organization, you have limited partners who are the investors with the bigger checks and commitments and so on.
Yeah.
It was like deal by deal. You find the startup, you find the investors who are interested to invest in the startup, and you make the fundraising process, and you close the deal. You close the deal, then you go to sourcing another startup. So it's like deal by deal. You are not having this commitment of building a portfolio and then to make a portfolio management and then to have some mandate for a certain year horizon where you need to put some investment thesis and so on. So it was a very simple idea. And it was, I think, a good one. So you need to start with that, and then if you are ready to go to the next level, you can go to the VC capital, private equity, and so on.
Yeah, that's the exact same story that I heard. Is that because I've had another interview with a startup founder, quite successful one, which he told me the same thing. Like you can't really have you don't really have venture capitals here in Moldova. We have more like angel investors and stuff.
Yeah, so that's us.
Yeah.
That what us. And afterwards, I got a feeling in my head that look, in order to invest in the successful founders, you need to have the founder experience,
Yeah.
or to work in the early stage successful startup at the good position that you build track record, and then you can go whether to build your startup or to go back to the investment business. So I decided to make a change in this regard. So we have grew the angel syndicate. We have deployed around 2 million of euro with more than 15 portfolio companies, and around 60 from 3 investors to 60 investors in the syndicate. And as I said, that I'm working right now at the crowd lending platform, and this is the startup we have invested in early.
Yeah.
So that's how I
So
got.
you are the CFO of the startup you ended up investing in back in the day?
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
So
That's
this is the story. So basically, we have raised some funds for them. We got to know the founders. We got to know the team, and I have understood that there is a potential to growing the startup and to make this a success story. So when we got to talk with the founder, apparently they were looking for the financial director, and my profile is quite fitting to it, where basically what I'm doing right now and what one financial director is doing at the startup. Firstly, I have the financial management part.
Yeah.
So I'm taking care of the financials, P&L, revenue, cost, and so on. And then I have 2 sections that are not that often under the arms of the financial director. The first one is fundraising, because I know how to fundraise some money and to create, the storytelling, some narratives for the investors so they can consider the startup as investment opportunity. So I'm working with the fundraising part, where we are looking for the funds to scale the company and for both equity, debt, and so on. And thirdly is investor relations.
Yeah.
So I got this experience as well after this angel syndicate stuff, where we got to, you need to interact, you need to engage with the investors, you need to build some relationships, you need to speak at simple language with them so they can understand, because they are coming from the different profiles. They're entrepreneurs, they're tech specialists, they're coming from traditional businesses. So you need to put all them together and to explain investment processes in very simple terms. So like you are explaining to the kid, like this simple should be, without, super smart stuff, what is LP, what is safe contract, what is convertible loan agreement. So you need to make this basic stuff. You need to connect with the investor, speak at one language.
Yep.
And that's how you actually build the relationship with them. And that's how you win the trust. So I think the trust is the most important one.
Are there many such investors in Moldova?
There are not that many. I think that the potential is here.
Are they foreign investors or like local investors that got some, let's say, wealth and they just are looking for opportunities, way to invest?
There are different personas. There are some local ones who are staying here. For instance, they are working in some corporations, in the IT companies, and they got some capital.
Yeah.
And then don't know what to do with the capital. So you have already bought an apartment, you have already bought a car, so your family is safe, and then you want to diversify your investment portfolio. Maybe you have invested in stocks, maybe you have invested something in crypto, bonds, and so on. But this type asset class is very high risk, and it's very high return. I mean, more than 90% of the startups, they fail, especially if you invest in the early stage. And you need to communicate this to investors. I mean, look, do you understand that you can lose this money with a very big probability? And if they understand the risk, then we can proceed. So if they don't understand, so like a rule of thumb, you need to understand in what you are investing in. You need to understand what are the simple terms, what are the expectation, and so on. So they can be the local ones, they can be some founders here who got some wealth, and they want to as well to diversify their portfolio. But there are some cases of the foreign investors. We have succeeded to attract some investors from different countries, and from Dubai, from Romania, from UK, US, and it can be like not Moldovans and Moldovans.
Yeah.
And they have built some successful stories there, and they wanted to give back to the community here locally in Moldova. So practically that was some of the narratives that we have promoted.
How does investing work in practice? Do you like, let's say you've like went over this phase of pitching your idea, investors buying into the idea, they're interested into investing. Like, how does it work in practice? Do you like sign a contract? You give away part of your business? Like, how does it work?
From the startup perspective?
Yeah, from let's say from the lens of the startup owner.
First of all, you need to make some homework before going to the investor outreach. So the homework is you need to prepare your numbers, and you need to own your numbers. You need to understand basic stuff. What's your revenue? What's your revenue growth? What's your runway? What's your burn rate? What are the costs? What are the marketing costs? What are the sales costs?
Are you saying you can't even get to that phase where you get investment if you don't have something already public? Like a product running or something?
Okay, if we define this, if you don't have the data, then you can start with a simple business plan, which is called pitch deck. And then there is a certain structure where you can speak about what is the problem that you want to solve, what is the solution, how big is the market, what's the business model, what is market opportunity. So these are the basic stuff. You can find it and to understand and to build your version of the pitch deck. And then having the best is to have some paying customers. It increases your chances of success and chances of getting the investment. It's like less possible to get the investment.
It's also easier for the investor, I would say, to invest because it doesn't seem as risky for them to invest.
It shows some validation, and it shows some external validation that not only you believe in the vision that you are building yourself, but there are some customers who are helping to pay to you, to pay your salaries, to pay your living cost at the starting point. So this is the best validation. And this validation can be not necessarily paying customers. It can be, some waiting list. You build a landing page, you know what kind of product you will build. Maybe the product is not ready, but you can already distribute this landing page to the potential customers. And you can fill out the form and so on, and you will get some, discount.
I'm just curious, what's the rejection rate for, let's say, when you don't have anything, you just have a pitch, an idea, a project of sorts?
It's so big.
It's like 99% or so.
It can be.
Even bigger, I would say.
I mean, more than 95, more than 90. So it's very stressful mentally. You are alone, especially as a founder, and no one believes that you can build something. There is more validation. There is not a lot of investors who would accept this high risk. And it's quite, first it's long journey to get to this first yes, but you need to go through a lot of no's. I mean, hundreds no's to get to one yes. You can put it fundraising as a sales process.
Yeah, it is a sales process.
It's a sales.
Yeah,
you have the top of the funnel, and then you are getting to your first response, first meeting, then first term sheet, and the first investor.
I would say something would be wrong with you trying to get funds and there's a lot of investors just waiting to give you money. Well, maybe you shouldn't sell in the first place.
Yeah, maybe you are OpenAI or Lovable and so on, but this is not the case for Moldovan ecosystem. We are not, that mature as a market. We have our risks. We have a limited market. It's a small market. So there are some selection criteria that you need to fit basically to get to the potential meeting. So it's a very hard journey. I would recommend to start with the product and to start with paying customers rather to go to first to investors to build the first version of the product and then hopefully to get some customers.
Yeah. Let's say you did your homework, numbers are right. You launched something, you went product hunt and whatnot.
Yeah.
You try to get some public validation, some customers, potential customers and whatnot. What's the process like from that point on? Like, because I was always curious, like, how do, like, when you think about the world in general, it's a bunch of people walking into rooms and talking to other people.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what business is. And I was always curious what's happening behind these deals. How do you end up from a potentially failing startup to the next stage of investment? And what's the deal looking like? Do you like have to give up part of your company? Like, how does it work?
In reality, this is still an early stage. So you don't have a lot of revenue to prove that it's working. So the first criteria that investors will look on is yourself as a person. A good investor will ask you, what's your background?
Yeah.
Where did you born? How was your childhood, adulthood? Where did you grew up, and so on. So basically, they would like to know your story as a person because you don't have the product, you don't have this big validation. So they need to understand whether you are the capable to drive the company, to drive the ambition, if the ambition is high, if you want to change the world or to solve a big problem, and if you can attract another talents to join you and to solve it together. I think, yeah, there is a big hype that you can build a billion company with one person right now with AI and all the stuff, but still you need some persons.
I would say that's hype. Yeah.
Yeah, so it can be true someday, but with a team you can achieve a bigger success. So this is first part, and then you need how it's happening. You try to understand how much money do you need and how much equity are you ready to give up
Yeah.
in exchange for this money. So basically this how it's working.
Is it negotiable when you say, because when you go to an investor to ask for money, typically you're the one in a, let's say, at the disadvantage because you need the money. So do you dictate the terms? Do you renegotiate? How does it work?
It depends how you can put the narrative. It
Yeah.
depends how you create storytelling. As a founder, you can come with a strong position where you can present that.
Because if they come in and say like, I'm gonna fucking take 70% of the pie, is it even worth working for that idea if in the end it's not even gonna belong to you?
It also depends. Everything is possible. You can see some examples of already big companies where the founder, at the point of the IPO, when the company becomes public, he has 5% of the company or under 5%, but still it's a billion company. So if you have 5% from the billions of dollars, it still can be a success story. And it depends of how you design your company. What is the ambition? Is it a venture-backed startup? Is it lifestyle business? Or is it a dividend business? And based on it, how you design and how you create this narrative and storytelling, you start to negotiate. So if, let's take you want to create a venture story, venture-backed capital with investors who want to join your company, get some piece of it as an equity.
Yeah.
And then to sell it, you enter on the one price and then you sell it on the bigger price. So this is the logic. You do not wait for some dividends in it. So this is the only way to build a venture-backed startup.
So basically the goal is you have an idea, you pitch it, or you may already develop it, put it out, then you get some investment. It may or not be venture, and then the ultimate goal is go public, IPO.
Not necessarily. You need to sell to someone.
Yeah.
You can sell it through the IPO. to making the company public, but you can sell it on the private market.
Do you have to sell it?
Yeah, you can do it.
I mean, do you have to sell it? Let's say, like, I guess because I'm not exactly sure. Like, do you like? Is the ultimate goal of you starting a company selling it, or you can be like an extreme lunatic visionary which is gonna stand the ground and make that company be its own thing, successful story?
Well, if you want to build a lifestyle business, you can be 100% a business owner and you can do whatever you want with your company. When you sell it to the investors, they have some expectation. So they put 100K of euro, they take, for instance, 10% from the company. So valuation of the company is 1 million if you put the month. And then the expectation is you need to communicate.
So it's just buy low, high, sell high type of thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's you cannot project that much.
But then what's the guarantee that, let's say, the initial vision of your company is the same in the end?
No guarantee. No collateral, no guarantee.
Because if you're just a salesman in between and you get your, let's say, percentage, your profit margin, then that's all you're doing and everything. It's like, I don't know. I guess a lot of companies try to, like, when they're being acquired, they try to keep a hands-off type of strategy where you still have the same employees, same thing. But a lot of the times, especially nowadays, a lot of layoffs happen. And I guess it depends on the person, on the founder and whatnot, how ethical it is to just tell everyone, fuck off. I'm leaving. I just sold you. And I don't know what's going to happen with your lives in the future, you know?
There are investment agreements. There are some terms that you need to negotiate. There are some protections for the investors. There are some protections for the founders. And there are some commitments that you make. For sure, with the legal part, you cannot solve the problem of the growing the company. You actually need to build it, to make your hands dirty and to go to the market and solve the problem and get paying customers. So you need this. Then you need the founder. The founder energy and ambition is very crucial. Investors, they don't manage the company. They're giving the money. They can help you some introductions to open the door where it's needed so you can go and sell it or attract some talent. So here you can provide some value add in this regard, but you're not managing the company.
Yeah.
Especially at the early stage. At the later stage, on the private equity level, you can create the board, you create the voting rights and so on, so you can influence.
Do you dictate anything even at, let's say, in the early stages when you have a company and you still, let's say, you're still on the rise, you're still kind of developing the product, so to say? Do you have a say into what the product is or will be, as a reference, taking the investment and what's the ultimate goal / valuation you're trying to get to?
Yeah, you can surely share what's gonna happen with the money.
Yeah.
But it's okay to pivot, to change the idea, to iterate, to understand that it's not working, but we still have some money, so we can go to the another idea or to get what we are having and to transform to something else. So there is no, in the contract that we will build only this B2B SaaS
No, I meant
platform.
more like ethical. Let's say, for instance, I don't know, it's not, I guess, the case, but let's say a company builds a product which is open source, but at the same time they have like a cloud version of it. Let's say they build a SaaS, so they give out an open source version of the product and then a SaaS. So from the ethical point of view, open source is good, right? And if you have like a license, let's say a GPL or a, I don't know, MIT license, it better remain that way. But what we've seen with like companies, like if you take a look at WordPress and what they did with the license, in 2024, Redis went on the same path, basically saying like you can use Redis for anything, which is like a cache database of sorts. You can use it for anything, but you cannot use it to sell it as a service. As, for example, if you're Amazon or if you're Google, you cannot use it to sell it as a service. So basically, they just like if you come in as let's say the investor and you say, okay, fuck open source, we're gonna add in a new license. You've effectively shed on the, let's say, ethical aspect of what you're building and who you are as a company. So I guess in that sense, like founders have big of a say in, let's say, ethics and whether they choose to keep the product a certain way or not?
Founders can do it, but you as an investor, you need to prevent it uh, in case if you want to make exit and to make some money out of it.
Yeah.
The simple way is to communicate it, to build very good relations between the founder and investors, to send some updates, to understand what's going on, what are the market trends. Can we consider it? Maybe to make it can be a hard decision, hard discussion, but you need to discuss it. For sure, you as a founder, you will take the final decision. But it's first of all your reputation. It's first of all your network, and you can do it. But who is gonna benefit from it? Will you benefit from it? Will the investors benefit from it? Will the
Yeah, no,
I don't know.
that's my point. Like when it comes to let's say companies that are backed by any kind of investment, they kind of rely on them dictating the terms to an extent, right?
Mhm.
So to an extent, they're not public anywhere. Like when you look at a company, you see the first faces. You see the CTO,
Yeah,
CEO,
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
the first
Small team.
people you see, which can always be replaced with somebody else. But like that being said, that's typically who you see, and they typically represent, and they can either improve or damage the reputation of the company, which then leads to or can lead to your product taking a big smash, taking
Mhm.
a big hit, and as a result you're not being able to sell to the extent you thought you would. So in that sense, let's say if the, I don't know, the visionary of the company, uh, again, there are some visionaries that I guess are focused on strictly making money, which is fine. They can care less. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But there's also investors that have an ethical aspect to it, like they core belief. They believe in some kind of a change and they want to keep it that way. And if you, let's say, come into the position of you needing money, then you no longer hold on to that position because
Mhm.
the investor doesn't care as much about your ethics. He cares about, I put in this
Mhm.
much, I get in this much at the end, right?
Yes and no. It depends on the investor and their profile. There are investors who are thinking just financially,
Mm.
as you described. There are some investors who are really investing in the founders and they want to see the founder grow and to make a success story and be part of it. And there is some investors who are also can contribute with some expertise, intros, a hands-on experience. So it really depends on the relationship that you build. That's why investors they build a portfolio of companies. They don't put all the money in one startup.
Yeah, makes sense.
So in case if this bad thing happens to them, they have another companies that they can understand. Okay, I potentially invest in this company, and I can already potentially write off this investment, and I can live with the belief that it's not gonna happen, and it's going to zero, or something can happen. I don't know, scam, founders breakup, war, something that you can influence and something that you cannot influence on it. And then you doubling down on another companies. What's going on with this startup, with this startup, with that, and you understand who is gonna be your winner, who like how it's structured the math behind the investment portfolio in the high risk early stage startup. That you need to build, for instance, 20 portfolio companies. So you need to invest in the 20 startups. Out of them, half of them, 10 companies, will close their activity. So it's zero, absolutely nothing. Um, Part of them, let's say 7 companies, will return your initial amount. So you have invested 10,000 of euro, you got back 10,000 of euro.
Yeah.
So that's it. And only a small number of the companies, 1, 2 companies will be that successful. So they will cover all the losses from that unsuccessful investment. So they will generate also the profit out of it. They will return your investment that will generate some profit. And this is, you need to think as a venture capital investor. This is how it's structured in this world. This is called power law, where you are putting, you're diversifying the portfolio, but your hope is that only one or two will make it happen, and will make it happen so big, and it will be, I don't know, a billion company, a unicorn, and then it will return your capital.
So unicorn is a billion, correct?
Yeah.
You mentioned in the beginning that Moldova is like a really small market.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, I'm questioning whether or not we're even building products for the Moldovan market, because a lot of the times we tend to outsource the product or the development of the product, and we built it for like the German market or the European market or the American market and whatnot. I'm wondering what's the, at least from your knowledge, what's the, like, if you were a startup, what's the biggest amount of funding you can hope for if you're, let's say, a Moldovan startup? Should you rely on the fact that you want to like look for money in the country, or maybe it's time for you to go abroad, like go Europe, go US? Maybe it's easier to get money there.
Yeah, you don't need to strive for the biggest investment. You need to understand how much do you need. How much do you need for this stage? How much do you need to get to the next stage?
Yeah, but what's the next stage? Is it the next 6 months, next 1 year, 2 years?
You can take it like you define the milestones. If, for instance, you have nothing or you have just MVP,
Yeah.
and that's it. So maybe the milestone would be I wanna get to the 1,000 of monthly recurring revenues. So how much do I need to invest in the sales, in marketing, and in AT, in pour something that will generate money? And then you calculate it and you create a story for only this small early stage company. And then you go to investors and say, look, I need 100K. I will get from the prototype to 1K MRR. And okay, let's try it. You invest 100K, you go to 1K MRR, then you launch another investment round and say from 1K MRR, I want to get to 10K MRR. For that, I need, I don't know, you define half a million of euro. Then you need to deliver this. If you're
Can
not
you get
delivering,
500,000 in Moldova?
It's not that possible to get in Moldova 500,000. You can get 100K,
Yeah.
for sure. It depends on your network. At this early stage, you need to have some network. You need to have some person that you can call, you can message, you can meet them tomorrow. And if you don't have it, then your job is a little bit harder. You can go to some accelerators to shine brightly.
Yeah, but they're all kind of
there.
like I've checked most of them, like I don't know, like any kind of funding you get from which is sponsored by the government. I checked like private sponsorships and whatnot. They're all kind of low. Let's just say that, like the amounts are low, and even the criteria for qualifying is extremely high for such a low amount of money that you can just get a job as like a developer and save some money and like fund it yourself, you could say. So yeah, like I was wondering what's like the maximum amount of money you could hope for to get in Moldova. Let's say you have a good network, the network which is, let's say, active in the country. What would be that maximum amount, and at what point do you feel like it's no longer possible and you need to go abroad?
You need to go abroad from day zero. You don't need to focus on only Moldovan market because it's not that mature.
Yeah.
There are bigger markets, bigger opportunities, bigger checks that can provide to you. So if you want to go to Europe, go to the countries where you can potentially launch your product and to potentially get some investors. Means, I don't know, you have a potential partner or a guy that you have learned during the university, or you make the study in Germany, and then you have the small step to go there. You already know maybe one person, and one person will connect with another person, and so on. So for sure, you don't. It's you're making your job very hard to focus only in Moldova and to find the customers in Moldova, to find investors in Moldova, and so on. So Romania is a friendly country to us from the cultural, language, and so on. There are some money there. There are some venture capital funds there. and you can pitch to them, but still it's not enough.
Yeah.
UK is very good ecosystem, especially for fintech, but not only. So there are some money there, and you can basically to screen out all the tech conferences that are happening in Europe, and to visit them, and to schedule some meetings with the investors to get to know them, to get to understand what they're looking for, if there is a fit, and to try to develop the relationship with them.
Are there a lot of investors at these tech conferences?
A lot, but it's not working like you go to
Yeah,
the
because
conference, you speak one to one, and let's get to the closing the deal. It's
yeah,
not like this. You need to create a story. So investors, they're not investing in pictures, they're investing in movies. So you need to create a movie for this potential investor that you're targeting it. For instance, you have a list of hundreds investors,
yeah,
and you understand how can I reach them out, whether I can go to find a potential founder who already got some check from them. Maybe I get to know this founder, and he will introduce me to this
yeah.
partner
That's
from
that's how
the
I thought of it.
fund.
Because I don't. My question always was like, how do you even get to know them?
Yeah,
Because it's like a hidden network of sorts. You don't know them like you'd know, like, let's say the CEO or the CFO of the company, which is a public persona, so
yeah,
to say. And you kind of need to rely on connections, as you said.
yeah. You create this process. Connectors are good. So connectors are the people who can introduce you to the investor, and you need to have a strong connector who is have very good reputation, particularly for this investor. You can. There is a very common, trend right now where you are building in public. So basically, you are documenting all your story on LinkedIn or X or on Facebook, and you are just putting the updates. Look what we have done in January. This. What we are planning to do on February. Or look, we have closed our first paying customer. And this is that how you build in public. You are sharing the information, and you're creating the story, you're creating the movie, and you get to connect with the investors. They can go through your post, and when they will do the first screening, they will already have some information because you have already shared it before. And very popular this type. And with that, you can attract talent because you are already public person, and with that, you are generating some inbound deals and some leads, and can be potential customers, potential hirings, or potential investors. So this can work. And then you can go to the tech conferences, to pitching events, to the accelerators where investors are also going to, and then can take you in the consideration. Then you can make a deep dive. I mean, don't believe that you will get the investment just from the pitching and so on. But in the end, you need to show up, and you don't know where it will come from, where there will be this
It's
first
not like a
touch.
set in stone strategy, like this is what you do, and it's guaranteed you get this much investment
Yeah,
or up to this much investment. Yeah, it's like I would even dare to associate it like going up to talk to girls.
maybe.
It's like a bunch of no's until you don't even expect an yes, and it comes, and there's one guy who believes in whatever you're trying to do.
It's also sales.
It is a lot of sales actually, because you like, and the funny thing is you're the only one who believes in what you're trying to do,
Yeah,
and you're not even fully sure if this is going to work or if the market needs this, and you need a way to validate what you're building as soon as possible, preferably through, I don't know, marketing and whatnot. That's like, or at least some kind of MVP which gets pushed to the market extremely fast so
yeah.
that you can immediately
Storytelling is very important. Your energy, your passion, how charismatic you are, how can you communicate in the simple terms, so everyone can understand what you're doing, what you are gonna build. So told, it's you need to take this in consideration, because there are some good people, good founders who are building a very great product, but they cannot sell it. And I think this is the problem that we have as Moldovans.
Is it part of the fact that they're like tech people, let's say developers and whatnot?
Tech people, this is the first part. We have a very good and great tech talent,
Yeah.
and we can build some stuff. We can build simple stuff. We can build harder stuff as well, but we cannot sell it. It's very hard to find people who can create this story, that can lead this ambition, who can dream very high, and to believe in yourself, and to attract some
Yeah, I was always
attention.
confused about like certain products. Like you interact with certain products, they're extremely snappy, fast, beautifully looking, all that, right? You're like wondering why aren't they up there getting a lot of money building the next big product, right? And you have extremely shitty products which for some reason they get this big funding, and
Yeah,
also for some reason they cost a lot, like if
yeah,
you have licensing products or like a monthly subscription or whatnot. You're like wondering what exactly went wrong in the process.
yeah. It's better to have not that beautiful product, but to have more money out of it and to understand how to sell it. And then you can accumulate some tech debt, and then you can get this paying
Is it
customers.
part of, because I tend to believe, like I don't know, maybe I'm seeing things a bit more negatively, but is it part of where the product comes from, which is the reason why it's hard to sell, or is it a phenomena which happens across the board, in all the countries? Let's assume I was like a US citizen.
Mhm.
Is it easier for me to sell a product even though it's the same exact product which, let's say, a guy from Moldova is trying to sell?
In US, there is a very competitive market,
Because you
so you
might
need to
have this
fight.
perception like he's trying to fool me or he's trying to scam me or whatever. Like
If you
I'm
are doing it as a cold outreach without some relationship or branding, it's
Yeah.
hard. It's really hard. But if you know how to target your marketing process, if you know how to get to this customer, maybe you have a potential partner in the US, but you are staying here in Moldova.
Yeah.
You need to figure it out somehow. There is no unique formula how to do it. It depends what are your resources, and to get maximum out of it, and to create a bigger ones and relevant ones, and to succeed. Um, you can do it, and from Moldova to go to the US market, and so on. For sure, it's hard. It's very competitive market, but the problem is the talent. We have strong tech universities. We have the talent pool. We have some tech communities who can share good case practices. But when it comes to the sales and marketing, it's hard to find a very good experience specialist coming from maybe international companies, and then can provide some experience to the local community. It's very hard, or even to have some here locally that you can put and attract and hire them, and make it happen. Why is it so? Maybe first of all, it's cultural part.
I would say maybe it has to do with the nature of the products we typically sell. Like it's not like we sell, I don't know, big investment projects every fucking day or month, which in a small market is not the case. And if you take even product development, like most IT companies here in Moldova, they don't develop, like rarely they develop something for the local market.
Hmm.
It's typically Western companies outsourcing, Eastern Europe companies predominantly the ones that are cheaper. So that's kind of the state of the deal, I would say.
On top, the majority of IT companies in Moldova are outsourced companies, and there are not that big product companies here. And I believe that this is caused because of the survival mode. With outsource, you can get money faster to
Yeah.
pay some salaries. With the product, you need to invest in the product. You need to understand what's the user flow to build around it, the branding, the distribution, and to get maybe some subscriptions of $5 per month.
And even those product companies that we have, like if you take the founder of them, like most of them are foreign founders. Either they came here fully because they thought it's just cheaper to operate on the local market, hire locally according to the local legislation, all that stuff, than to have a distributed team of whatever, and it's harder to manage in that sense.
Yeah, totally agree. But there is always some outliers, very good teams that can make it happen, that can go through it. And there are some successful stories in Moldova as well. And but we need more. We need bigger ambitions, bigger dreams, a more stable macroeconomic situation around us, some government support. But still, you can
I wouldn't
all
rely on the government, to be honest.
you don't rely on it. You don't always rely on it. You don't need to rely on grants and so on. Your customer is the ultimate validation for it. So you need to focus on customers. You don't even need to focus on investors. Investors is just a tool for you to accelerate the company, to make it happen, and to share the success together with it. From the legal point of view, there are challenges as well. You don't need to open the Moldovan company as a legal entity. You can do it outside of the Moldova. So if you are really solution oriented, if you are the person that is ready to get your hands dirty, if you wanna solve the problem and you are actually doing it, and you are not finding some excuses that we don't have this, we don't have that, you will figure it out
Yeah.
and stay positive in it. And I think you should also be a little bit obsessed. I think obsession is one of the quality that founder must have in the good times and the bad times. This is something that will keep you up days and nights to go and figure it out. And it happens that not all of us can have this obsession. Not all of us can permit, to work without the income
Yeah,
for years.
I would say the ability, yeah, obsession is definitely one of them, but this ability to keep going, even though there's nothing promised, nothing
Yeah,
guaranteed. You doubt yourself, you question yourself. Do I keep going? When does it end? Why am I even doing this?
it's
Yeah.
hard. That's why I have a very big admiration to the founders who is trying. Not necessarily they are succeeding, but they are trying. They are going through it. They're fighting. And when I was working in the Angel Syndicate, I was there to help them, actually to be part of it and to maximally to helping that out with some intros, some expertise, maybe just with the good advice at the relevant time that you will get through it just a little bit more and so on. Maybe you need to be, sometimes you need to be a coach, sometimes you need to have the therapist, sometimes you need to celebrate with them and so on, or you need to be a more pusher. So it's hard. That's why I'm also this. I always have some empathy to this. It's very hard journey, and only 5%, 1% of them will succeed. So this is the statistics, and it's hard.
Yeah. Wondering if you've been in the position where you could almost tell that this is a failing startup. And what are those typically startups looking like? Is it like an inherent initial mistake which they make immediately and you don't see it succeed? And we're not even talking about them being to the stage where they can go ask for funding.
Mm-hmm. One of the things, there are a lot of things, but one of them, the top problem that can happen in your startup is the founder breakup. So usually a good formula is to have some co-founders.
Yeah.
One is the guy who is building the product, one is the person who is selling the product. So this combination is a very good one to start with it. And maybe another one can be, depends on the product, operational stuff, maybe financial stuff, marketing and so on. But it would be nice to start with someone because you can share the journey, you can share the volume of tasks because there are a lot of them. And then you can actually support each other. Starting the company alone, it's, I think, very hard.
It's a huge amount of stress, I would say.
Yeah.
I never got this because I remember you talk about this co-founder stuff, and I remember the days at university when we had hackathons, and you would have a lot of like NGOs,
Mm-hmm.
companies trying to organize them, and they would always like advise us, Like, hey, make sure when you pitch your idea, you get in your team designers, marketers, developers, not just developers, right? And I was like, fuck that. Like why do I need like a salesperson, or why do I need like a marketing person? It's just an empty seat, a person who does nothing for this particular idea. Like, we just need developers, right? Then you grow up a little bit, you realize not everything, as you said, not everything that you build and might be like a cool product, cool idea is actually gonna end up selling or gonna end up making money.
Yeah.
So like, I find this idea more and more interesting because there's so much more stuff going into a product. Like, when you go online, or when you see an ad, you go on the website, or you like navigate a product or a service, there's so much more than what you just see.
Exactly. So this is one part. Second part can be that you are building something that no one needs. So there is no market need for it. And maybe you have some belief that it can be innovation at the right time with a big market.
It happens with developers, especially
It happens to
because we have all these
everyone.
fantasies. What if I build this SaaS? Because there's this trendy term of SaaS, micro SaaS, and a lot of us developers think that, like, we have a ladder of success. We have like junior, mid, senior, some kind of manager or CTO, or then you have SaaS. Like, I need to build my own SaaS. That's like the last level of success, you could say. And a lot of developers tend to think that you need to reach that point where you build your own stuff. Whether or not that stuff is actually useful to the market and there is a market for that, that's a whole different story.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's also hard. So you can start with maybe a simple product. I mean, one feature, one revenue stream, one distribution channel. That's it.
What's a distribution channel?
I mean, one marketing strategy. I mean, you are going just to cold calling.
Yeah.
Start with that, or you're just going to open the doors and selling something that you have. Just start with one channel where you can get some potential customers. Don't make spray and pray. I mean, we will activate Facebook ads. We will go to get some interviews. I will go to some podcasts to talk about the product. I will go to post on the LinkedIn and so on. So it's a red flag in this regard. It shows that if you are trying everything, it means that you know nothing what's actually working. So start with just focus. One feature, one revenue stream, and one sales channel. That's it. Keep it stupid simple, especially at the early stage. Then when you grow up, you can put another subscription, maybe another commission, or getting the customers through another channel and launching new features. But this at the beginning level, start as simple as possible. Don't overcomplicate it. That I will build this perfect SaaS product that everyone will buy.
That's my problem as well as a technical person, is every single time I'm building something, even if it's just work for a client, I'm like overcomplicating it, thinking of all possible use cases and whatnot. And a lot of the times it's supposed to be simple. You start with what works and then let's make it better when that comes, when we need to adjust it later on.
But why is it so? Why do you think? Why do a lot of developers, they tend to be so perfect?
I think it has to do with the progression which we have as developers, right? You start as a junior developer, fantasy, and the sky is the limit. Like, you think there's so many things for you to do, to learn and whatnot, and everything is new, and you basically absorb everything like a sponge. Then you reach a little bit of maturity where you know how things are supposed to be done a little bit. Like, you call that typically a mid position, right? Where you know tools, you don't maybe make the best decisions, architectural decisions and whatnot, but you have a bit more knowledge. Then you reach a senior position and you already know how things are supposed to be done. You know best practices, you know when to apply them and when not to apply them, and things like that. With that, however, there's a problem. There's this problem that you're not flexible, you're too rigid, right? You can think outside the box. At the same time, you're overthinking everything because you might think, what if in the future we have this problem? What if this? What if that? And you have all these hypotheticals in your head and you're trying to build for everything and everyone. And in the process, you don't even target the right thing, maybe.
Yeah.
And if you take by comparison a junior who's just going to do anything to get something done, even though it's the stupidest approach, maybe not the most efficient one, like on the balance of value delivered to the market, you could say that the senior delivers less value in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he has better judgment, better, I don't know, decision making and critical thinking skills, but in the process of you delivering something, that just one thing which works, which is already touching the market and can potentially have customers, in that sense, those people don't have that limitation. And if you take senior developers, they do have that limitation of not being able to be flexible on learning, closing an eye on something which isn't perfect according to their standards of quality and whatnot.
Is there some ego behind it?
I'm not sure about ego. Maybe it's like we have this world of perfectly aligned deck of cards, and it has to be that way. Like you can't build a product in this way because it's not according to the best practices, or a product is not only supposed to have this but also this, or if you want to go and implement this feature, then you need to go to do it in this technology.
Mm-hmm.
But doing it this way, like for instance, let's take microservices. I'm sure you heard of this
Yeah.
term. Like a lot of people think this is the best practice, the best way to do things, and it is in fact. However, there's a specific scale of problem when that becomes valuable. Until you reach that scale, it's practically just unnecessary bloat, unnecessary split, unnecessary infrastructure costs, unnecessary a bunch of other things, and you have a new plethora of problems you're dealing with, which if you're trying to save money and time, you don't have to, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And you have these best practices which we try to, like, even like from the very beginning of our career, we try to gain as much experience in different fields, right? We try to play with different new toys, new frameworks, new technologies, databases, and whatnot. And the more of that we do, the more fulfilled we feel in a way, right? You could brag about it and say that I have experience in XYZ. But and when it comes to building a product, I would say it's also the same. You could brag that I built this product, which is relatively challenging, which is interesting, maybe to yourself, but it doesn't, like, the market doesn't care about that product.
Yeah, there is a comparison with a lot of people. They say, I'm artist. I wanna have a very good picture. I wanna create a good product, but I'm not focusing on the money. And usually it doesn't work. I think you can build a very good product and you are artist and you are delivering a very good experience. But if you don't have this business process, this selling instinct that you can monetize your art, I think there is a very big debate there also, that there are a lot of artists, they can monetize their activity, and there are a lot of artists that are underground stuff and they wanna to be just there. So I think this is something similar with the developers and their thinking as well.
Yeah, it's strange that we're the ones building the thing which supposedly makes money. At the same time, we're not capable enough to see outside the perfection, which we try to make everything look like. And the reality is, like, because like a lot of the times you see like leaked source code and whatnot,
Mm-hmm.
and you see leaked source code of relatively successful companies like Twitch and whatnot, and you see what kind of a shitty code they wrote, and then you wonder yourself, like, does it make sense for me to focus all this energy and effort and time on this perfect world instead of just trying to of course you're going to work with that code long term, and you have to kind of enjoy what you're doing, at the same time not have a toxic environment of sorts. But at the same time, if your purpose is to found a product and you're no longer in the position when you're doing development for somebody, but you're the one doing it for you, then you kind of need to take some compromise left and right, I would say.
For sure. Very interesting.
I'm glad we've spent so much time talking about a lot of interesting things. Uh, and we haven't touched on AI. Well, slightly touched on AI, but
Mm-hmm.
I deliberately didn't open the Pandora box because a lot of people just start talking about AI this, AI that. I'm curious, what's your opinion of AI? And you previously mentioned AI giving you the possibility of potentially having less people building your stuff faster, reaching the market faster. What's your opinion of the current day trends when it comes to AI? Is it like overhyped? Are people like overselling this idea of AI? Do companies rush too much into just shoving AI down the customer's throat when they didn't even need AI in the first place? Like, what's your opinion on this?
Yeah, there are a lot of opinions there. In the long term, I would like to believe that AI will be a positive change for the world. I truly believe in it because it's a very big technological shift, like creating of the internet in the 2000s, or where it was creating a car when we from the horses you shifted to the
Yeah.
cars. So it shows maybe in the short term there are some crises where from the horses there is no demand for the horses. What's that of piece of the metal of technology that can get you from A to B? But eventually it was a very good revolution.
A lot of people associate this AI boom with the industrialization,
Yeah,
when we basically gave up on blacksmiths, on manual processes, and we shifted to like industrialize or to like pipelines and whatnot, factories and all that stuff.
yeah. The same with the internet. The internet was a bubble as well, which is AI is a bubble as well in the current
Yeah, but the reason why
state.
people think it's a bubble is strictly financially. Like if you look at Nvidia, OpenAI, the current RAM apocalypse, the chip apocalypse in general, where everything is getting more expensive on the market.
Mhm.
There's huge investments in the AI development. The question, like the pertinent question, I would say, remains: where at what point will all this investment come to collect? Like you guys have invested these billions. What's the breakthrough? Yeah, you have newer models, better models, and whatnot. But at what point the like chickens come to roost, so to say?
Yeah, it also
Yeah,
depends on the storytelling, as I said.
because you can't
Uh,
sustain this for too many years without any kind of profit.
yeah, you need investors who will cover these losses. And the funny part that where there was this AI hype, there was a narrative that these companies will create AGI.
Yeah. What is that in the
Yeah,
first place?
but do you hear now this? Not that much. So the narrative they are shifting from year to year. So we don't know what's gonna happen with this technology and how it will impact to us. Another hype right now are the robots. So with the AI robots, with the hardware, not only software, we can make our lives better. On the other side, it can be a crisis that
I even heard
robots
people
will
that
kill us, and so on.
Yeah, I even heard people that like have recommendations on what you should be investing in, and they
Hmm.
said you should invest in humanoid robot stocks because that's going to be the next big boom, basically.
Yeah,
And
basically, this is what is doing Tesla. A big bet on it. They are giving up on some of the models of their cars in order to double down more on the producing the robots and get their factory production less to the cars, more to the robots, more to the self-driving cars. This is another, speculation that look, we have a lot of taxi drivers, we have the drivers with our personal cars, but what if in the 5-10 years we'll have only self-driving? So it's a potential layoffs of the drivers, of the ones who were working hardly for the 10 years and then don't know what to do if they will not be needed on the market.
about layoffs, let's take for instance the IT industry. What's your opinion on it? Is it natural, and let's say companies suffering some kind of financial loss, or let's say they're doing the math along the way and they say, okay, look, the next 2 years we might potentially be bankrupt, so we need to optimize our resources and we're just going to end up cutting people? Or is it more like hype and marketing? Because it all started with Twitter at the time, Twitter,
Exactly.
now
Yeah.
X. and then it snowballed, and everybody else was starting to lay off people, starting with the US, then Europe came across, and then also because Moldova is like 10 years behind everybody else.
Yeah.
So, what's your opinion? Is it natural? Is it a, let's say, financial problem which leads to it, or is it more of a hype/marketing?
I don't think that this is marketing stuff because it's actually a problem for the public companies. Because if you speak about public companies like Facebook, Netflix, and so on, when they do some layoffs, it can affect the stock price. Whether it can go down if there is some panic, or they can see this as some productivity strategy decision, and it can go up. But you don't know what would be the reaction. So I think that a lot of public companies they were afraid of laying off the people, because it can affect it can create some panic, it can create some problems to their board meetings and
I
so on.
think Twitter's stock went down like 50% after the layoff.
I don't know,
And
but
he invested like 44 billion, if I'm not mistaken, and then ended up being devalued so much.
yeah, but this is the case where you took the company from public back to the private, and then you make the rules as a founder. You are more
Also, his political
free.
affiliations and whatnot, public views, like a lot of it went into
Very big influence, let's
Yeah,
say,
yeah.
in this case. So you can create some influence there, but not all founders they are capable and have this influence. And apparently you can do more with less, but you need to organize it somehow.
I'm curious, what's your thought on public/private companies? Are public companies like a way to scam people, in a sense that you end up making the company public, then people start trading it, then you are scamming it or the system by doing stock buybacks, which then increases the value of your stocks, which then makes more people buy it even more? Like, what's your thought process here? Also, not to mention, when you want to make any kind of changes, it's a bit harder because you have a board of members which you have to comply to, and the people typically holding the biggest amount of shares will dictate how you operate as a company, basically.
Firstly, it's hard to make some scam as a public company.
No,
Because you
scam
have
in the sense
regulators,
that you have the speculative value of what.
Yeah, you can hyping up and
Yeah.
make some tools to increase your stock price, or maybe to make it less, so you can maybe buy back your stocks at better price. In essence, the IPO or getting the company public, in essence, the major motivation why companies are doing it is to provide liquidity, is to provide supply, demand, and the current investors, they can exit the company during the IPO, so other investors can take your part of company and go on, and then
So is it
maybe
like
to
a
increase
way
it.
for you to sell part of the company without
Exactly.
selling the company?
Exactly. So this is one of the major tools how is IPO structured. There are some another motivation why companies go public. For instance, Revolut, they plan to go public, but they don't need this for the liquidity. There are a lot of Revolut shares they are selling right now on the private market, and you can buy right now some shares from Revolut if you have some specific tools. It's not on the trading.
Yeah,
apps
that's
and
what
so
I've
on.
always found hard about stocks in general. It's hard to get into it in the sense that you need a broker. Can you explain the process for a banana country? Let's say I'm from Moldova, I want to invest in stocks. What's the process looking like?
In the private stocks or in the public
Let's
ones.
say, are there such thing as a private stocks?
Yeah, when the company is not public, you cannot open the app and to buy some.
Yeah, but what's the guarantee that you bought those stocks?
There are some instruments that can provide investment agreements. So for that, angel syndicates exist, where you can buy some shares. There are some marketplaces with the secondary market. So it's called when you can buy piece of cake from the company, but it's not public yet, and you negotiate with this current investor, and it can be on the market price, or it can be negotiated with some discount because they need to get some liquidity before
It's like
before the exit.
crypto coins before they
Something
launch.
something like that. And basically, if you are part of such of the angel clubs communities, and if they fight for you to get this beautiful deal, for instance Revolut, they can got some allocation. Like we have got an investor from Revolut who need money right now, so then they cannot wait for the IPO to gain the company public and then to make the exit and to get liquidity. So there is a marketplace that can regulate this. So you transfer the money. There are some legal
I don't
part,
think
due
we even
diligence.
have such a thing when it comes to companies in Moldova.
Yeah,
Because you have limited liability companies and then you have the other kind of companies.
but you don't need it. We don't have the market for such type
yeah.
of the transactions. It's about the global market, about the bigger companies. And here you can do it. And if the reputation is good for this club community fund, you can be part of it to go through the due diligence process. They open a SPV. This is special purpose vehicle. So basically, they open a company where they invite all the investors to invest in this company. So we raise 1 million, put this money in one company, and this company takes equity from Revolut.
Yeah.
And on behalf of this company, you have these shares.
But the company is not Moldovan.
No.
Because otherwise you can't legally buy it, technically.
It's hard. I mean, it's hard. The documentation is very hard, but
yeah, I always thought about investing in, like, I don't know, there's this popular thing you should invest in, like S&P 500 and whatnot. Like these popular indexes, which basically are guarantees for you to always make money over time. But I always found the process tricky and close to impossible because you have to go through so many layers, and you're just, okay, if I want to invest, what do I even invest in 2026? Do I invest in stocks, which is cumbersome? Do I go crypto? Or do I go rare metals like gold, silver, and whatnot?
It depends on your risk appetite and your investment thesis.
Yeah.
You need to take into consideration some of the aspects. First of all, what currency do you have? And what currency do you want to have at the exit? So, for instance, we are living in Moldova. So for sure, we have whether the Moldovan lei or we have euro.
Yeah.
So you need to understand if...
Yeah, but those are fiat. Those are, you could say, money. Yeah. But I'm curious, like, so there's this notion of money and wealth.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people, it might be the same thing, but in reality, it's two different things. So money is something is liquidity, something you can use now to exchange any kind of good and service. However, you cannot exchange goods and services with wealth. You cannot give 1 square meter of your apartment for some goods and services. It doesn't work that way. So what would be, let's say, a relatively good investment? Like, what would be the baskets you can spread your eggs in when it comes to investing in 2026? Because a lot of people think, that their apartment or their car is an asset, which I would say is not. Like, what are your thoughts in investment? What you should go invest into to keep your money safe? Because you have inflation, which basically beats your, like, if you're just saving money, inflation is going to kill it in the end.
Yeah. Let's get to this building the portfolio, and then we can go to the apartments and cars and whether this is the asset or debt.
Yeah.
You need to define your risk appetite. Can you sleep well with the high risk, investing in crypto, early stage startups, and so on, or not? Or you need to go down to get to some medium risk, maybe corporate bonds, crowd lending platforms, crowdfunding platforms, and maybe buying apartments, not for the living, but actually as an asset class.
Yeah.
Or you are very conservative type of person, and you are quite okay with the bank deposit, you are quite okay with the state bonds, with the predictable interest rate, with the big probability of giving back the interest and money and so on. So ideally you can understand how much capital do I have to, to diversify. The key is diversification. You need to put something there, something there, something there. And to understand if you sleep well, then you're fine. If you are having some stress with that you need to change something with that. So after that, you need to understand how much time do you expect to generate these first returns. Are you ready to put some money in a ETF or S&P 500 and to forget for the 5 years, or do you expect to take some money out in 1 year? So then you to adjust this investment thesis accordingly. Or you want to buy an apartment, but you understand that there is a big amount. It will will give back in 10 years and 15 years and so on, in order to just to return your capital and then to generate some profit. And then you, as I said, you define the currency that you want to exit with. So if you want to live in US, it's not relevant for you to invest in euro or to invest in Moldovan lei.
Yeah.
Or if you have some Moldovan lei but you are gonna live in UK, you need some investment in GBP. So then you need to define what's your plan in the 5-10 years.
But that's still fiat. You still end up with fiat, which is like, I used to think of money differently back in the day when you I don't know, you get some savings and whatnot. You think of it, okay, I'm gonna put down some savings, and over the 5 years or 10 years, the value is gonna be the same.
Mm-hmm.
What you fail to realize is year by year, the value decreases by so much, especially in like a poor country like Moldova, where inflation is through the roof, that I'm not exactly I think of like my money in terms of savings / fiat as temporary money. Like, I don't know what the fucking value is now. I don't know what the fucking value will be. I only know what the value is this year, relatively to the market, to the inflation and whatnot. So in that sense, obviously, if you have like the bigger the savings you have, you start to think, okay, I need to make sure that over the years, maybe I don't want to spend the money. I don't want to invest the money. I don't want to waste the money. So I just want to preserve its value. So from that point, you transition from I turn the money into wealth equivalent in that amount of money. So yeah, I'm thinking like what's your personal, let's say, gold standard?
It's very personal. There is no formula there. I would argue firstly that there is another very big inflation in Moldova. It's around 5% per year. It's already down than 5%, so it's already fine. For sure, there are some macroeconomic situation, pandemic, war, and so on, where it goes up. But this is something that you cannot influence that much. There are some macroeconomic situation, and who knows what will happen in the next 10, 12 years. Maybe there will be another pandemic, something else. I don't know. We'll get to the Mars. There will some
but if you take
and so on.
Let's say I invest in like a bank deposit, right? Or I mean, that's not even like a safe option, I would say, because the bank can bankrupt and then your money is fucked. Is gone. Let's say I go government bond, which is like the safest option you can bet on. Still, like if you take the period, I think it's minimum 1 or 2 years, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's a short term, Moldova.
It's considered a relatively short time. You could go, I think, 2 or 3 years, but like the interest at the end is not that big, I would say. Like if you compare it to crypto alone, you could like have a stake on crypto, like just leave it there. It's of course not considered, especially in the Moldova, like crypto is viewed as like something negative. They try to ban it everywhere. But if you like try to compare the two, the APR on crypto is like higher, I would say. So
for sure, but it's very volatile market.
You can like stake it in stable coins.
You can. first of all, as I said, you need to invest in something that you understand. For me, I don't understand crypto that much. I understand how it's fundamentally is going on, but I'm not following the crypto market.
Yeah.
It's quite okay. Look, there is another very interesting market. I'm gamer. I at my adulthood I played a lot. I don't play that much right now.
What's
But
your favorite? I think you're into RTS, if I'm not mistaken. Was it RTS or RPG?
usually I play Dota, Counter-Strike, and so on. So this type of the games, and there are marketplaces where you can buy some skins for I mean you can
Yeah, my
buy
brother
some
does that.
weapon,
He's like,
knife, and you can speculate a lot there. It's a billion market, trust me, and you
but it's
can
only on specific games because I tried to fucking
exactly.
sell.
So gamers they understand this market. So
Yeah, yeah.
if you as a gamer you understand the market, you can invest in it. But if you are not that interested in this type, it would be very hard for you to understand what to buy, how to follow the trends, how to be there, to be present,
Yeah.
and to understand what are the updates and so on. But you can build a wealth there if you are passionate and you understand it and you want to try it out. You can, but eventually it's very personal. You can go to, for instance, in Moldova, there is crowd lending platform that we are building, and where you can invest in micro loans.
Yeah.
And there is a track record there that you can generate statistically in euro pretty good returns. It's higher than bank deposits. It's higher
Yeah,
as
bank
a
deposits are
corporate
shit. Like
bonds.
I tried looking into it once. I think it was 1 or 2 years ago, and I'm like, come on, dude. Like, I can just, and I literally compared it to my crypto wallet. I'm like, fuck, it's like triple the amount, and
Yeah.
it's stable coin. It's not even speculative, where you could have higher returns potentially at higher risks as well. But it's like not even worth it. If you
But
take,
there are some times where you can catch the wave. There are some crises, economic crises, where the banks they put the policies in order to save the money. How you make the people to save the money? You increase the interest rate.
yeah.
And there were some periods, not that long before, like 3-4 years during the pandemic, I guess, where the interest rate were or inflation were 20-30%.
Yeah, but then you also decrease productivity within the country. Because if
Yeah, but you
people,
as an investor, you create your return.
yeah, no, that's true. But at the same time, yeah, at the same time, if you do that, I guess not like national banks do that for like in order to, as you said, decrease inflation. But then you also decrease consumption or productivity.
But
Like,
it's temporarily, this is the policy that you as a bank or you as a government, you can influence to put your leverages and then to play around to get the economy back to the stability, to some expectation of inflation of 5% for instance.
yeah, I don't know. Banks are always sneaky. Like they've been the enemy for me for quite some time, in the sense of how they operate.
And that's okay. I mean, this is not for you, and you go to the another asset class. If you are passionate about the crypto and you're quite okay with that, and you sleep well while investing in stable coins, great for you. But there are some people who are having some anxiety on it, and they need a more
I have anxiety when I fucking have my money. It's in the bank account, and I'm trying to make a fucking. It's not even like a transfer or something. I'm just trying to pay with like the POS, and they fucking reject the transaction because I live in the fucking Moldova. But for some fucking reason, I got that big amount of money on my credit card, and I can't fucking use it. And you have to call the support, wait like 20 minutes in the line, and then eventually they answer and they ask you a lot of stupid questions to confirm that you are who you say you are, and then you can use your money, which is frustrating as fuck. Like,
it is true, and
yeah,
you can see it as frustration, but you can also see it as an opportunity. You know that this is a very bad market. You understand that there is a very poor customer experience, a very poor technology, so you can solve it. You can turn it
what are you
this
saying?
opportunity. Take Estonia as an example. Estonia as a population, as a geography, we are quite similar with them.
Yeah.
And there were some times where they also got some to economic crisis with the money laundering, with the low reputation to the banks, and very low protection and so on. We also had it as Moldova with the money laundering from the and closing the banks.
Yeah.
But they took this as opportunity, and that's how Wise actually grew. Wise is an Estonian company.
Is it an Estonian company? I thought it's like a British company of sorts.
But yeah, headquartered in UK because it's more favorable, legal
Like,
framework.
yeah.
But it started in there. It
I
started
wasn't aware it started in Estonia.
and it started from the crisis. You take this opportunity, you solve this problem, you deliver a better experience, and then you are doubling down on the global market.
I've heard some wild stories with Wise in particular, and in general, all these, because technically Wise, Revolut, and all these other companies, they're not banks.
Yeah,
They're
it's
like financial institutions
neobank.
of sorts.
Yeah, it's like neobank where you don't
Yeah,
have.
yeah. So because of that, you don't have all the guarantees which banks are, let's say, compliant and required by the law of the country they operate in to, let's say, operate. And you have a lot of like weird shit. Like I've seen founders, I think, on LinkedIn complaining about Wise or advising you taking your money out because all of the sudden your account is blocked. All of the sudden your virtual money, which you thought you had, is no longer yours, and there's nothing you can do about it. At least in the case of banks, you can go and fuck with them. Let's say governmentally speaking, you could just sue them or whatever. But with these financial institutions, it's a bit harder because, like, how do you even prove anything?
License works, some reputation works, branding
Yeah,
works.
but if you're just a user out of millions, it's just annoying. I don't know.
Yeah, for that you need a very good ecosystem. You need to have a competitive market. So if all the banks they are kind of monopoly or they can follow the rules, create some rules, it's bad for the final customers.
Yeah, they always change because I always get emails with, we've updated our terms and conditions. We've changed the fucking fees. We've done this and that. I'm like, come on, guys. And it's always unstable because you have always regulations like anti money laundering laws, a bunch of regulations, especially like depends very much on in which jurisdiction they operate in.
Yeah.
If you have like these European jurisdictions, obviously there will come laws trying to protect customers and whatnot, and they'll have to just comply. But they have a more free, like they have a freer market in the sense of regulations. Banks have to comply with a lot more shit. That's why they ask you all these stupid questions, because I think it has to do with the law and like the protection of the customer and whatnot. But yeah, like I always think of banks as like these, because you take banks in Moldova, I think we have like the highest fees when it comes to just uh, customer fees in general, and then you take loans, highest rates. You take and you take their profit. They have like a lot of like they recorded a lot of over profit basically, and their biggest client is basically the government, which is, you could say, the safest client. That's why they don't even compete, because they don't need to compete for like fighting for the clients and whatnot when they have the government, which is, that's why we even have this huge national debt. And you look at the banking system in general and you're like, how are you not, because I guess a lot of people don't know how it functions, but how are people not not afraid but alarmed of how banks work in general?
Mm.
Can you explain the concept of fractional reserve banking to people who are not aware of that or familiar with?
Let's start with the simple bank. I think this is the pretty the similar the concept. What you are asking, it's like more compliant part or regulatory part. But banks work in the following way. From one side, you track the deposit,
Yeah.
and then you provide the loans of this money. And you need to have some cash reserves in terms of will be a lot of requests of taking the bank deposit out. You need to have this immediate cash to provide it. And then you make a money machine, you make this risk management, compliance part, and so on. I would say that it's getting better, our banking system. The fees are becoming lower due to the fact that Moldova have become part of the European payment system, SEPA,
Yeah.
if you heard about this. So it's getting better. It's not, the perfectly. There is a lot of stuff to do. There are a lot of unnecessary fees, and there are a lot of pressure from investors and so on to deliver some results. But eventually, the better way to deliver result, but providing a very good customer experience, so they can go and recommend this bank to another one, and you stay, and your retention is even higher. Your check is becoming higher. I would promote this type of the banking, not with the hidden fees and high interest rates for the loans. And it's a progress, I would say, but this is how banking is. This is their business in the end, and you as the customer, you as a business owner, you as an entrepreneur, you are researching the market. If you are working in this market, you need to find the best offer for you, which
Yeah,
will
but for me,
suit
it's almost
you.
criminal how banking in general works. In
I
the
don't think
in
so.
the sense that, let's say I need $100,
Mm-hmm.
I come to you.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have $100, but you say, "Here's $100," and I'll just write it down digitally to your account. You have digital $100, you end up spending it, and you have to give me back, let's say 10% interest rate.
Mm-hmm.
Have to give me back $110, and that's when the bank has physical money, cash, $110, 100 being the money which they invented, and $10 being their profit, basically.
Well, this is the price.
The problem with that, I don't have a problem with the profit, because they help me. I don't know, let's say I took a loan for like an apartment or whatever.
Yeah.
It's fine, because I didn't waste time. I had access to money and whatnot. The problem with that is the scale by which this gets multiplied. Basically, you have a way smaller reserve, like 30 to 50 times smaller than the actual loans they give to people. So
Mm-hmm.
basically, they're giving money, they're drawing money, which they don't have, and they're giving all this money out, which can potentially lead to like a financial crisis, right? Because let's say tomorrow in the capital came 10,000 people, all of them requesting their deposits. Like, give me the full amount of money that I have. Like, I would pretty much be sure that no banks will be uh, not okay, but no banks will be able to comply with that request because they don't have that exact money.
It will be a shock.
Yeah.
It will be a certain panic, but that's why these banks, they have some ratings, and these ratings are made by some independent organizations, some audit and so on. And you figure it out if everything is fine and you can trust the bank, you can be the customer. Then you need to make some payments. You cannot live only with cash here in your apartment and that's it. You wanna be connected with the world. You wanna to pay for your services, for your goods, and actually to get for your services that you are
Yeah,
providing.
but why did we even get to this notion of decentralized money? I think it has to do with the fact, and if you take like pretty much most countries out there, you cannot do a lot of transactions in cash. Like,
Yeah.
everything is being enforced. You have to do this for the bank, for the bank, for the bank. You can buy a car, can buy an apartment, can buy goods and services above this amount, can't withdraw a lot of money. And you have to you're basically castrated to the point where you're like, fuck cash, I'll just do it through the bank. If in the process you've effectively subdue yourself to the system and you're in the system, and anything, like, you can be a political victim, you can be like, there's so many things that can happen to you, and you can be locked out of the system, that it leads to you not having a life anymore. Not to mention that, like, if you take a lot of even democratic countries, like, one day you have a lot of money in the bank account, the other day you no longer exist as a person, right? So I guess in that sense, cash allows you to still have a sort of legal tender that you can buy goods and services with. And if you take decentralized money, which is why this concept is so powerful and people are invested into it, is you have no government who's controlling the system.
I think
And
eventually it's getting there. There is a progress. Government can put around the playground here. I think US can be an example who can make this revolution because a lot of innovation is coming
You mean decentralized
from
money?
there. Yeah.
I
Uh,
doubt that that's the case. I'm not sure if you heard of CBDCs,
mm-mm.
which is like central banks' digital coins. It's like a different form of digital money,
Mhm.
but more like, let's say it's an alternative to Swift, but faster, more efficient, and whatnot. But also, there's a lot of concern and alarming, especially alarming concerns around the government being able to control everything you transact. So,
Mhm.
what you transact, who you transact with, whether or not you can transact that. Uh, so things like that, and like basically, like if you can choose the bank, which will give you like a bank account and whatnot, the government can in a way control that, the bank still being like a financial institution. Now if you have the national bank coming in and saying here's digital money and we operate it, we regulate it, we control who uses it, what you can buy with that money and whatnot, then you've effectively set control over what people buy, who they can buy from, and it can especially be used as a political weapon, I would say.
Yeah, look, you see this as a problem,
Yeah.
and that's why there is an opportunity there, and there will be some brilliant minds who can put all this together, maybe to transform the current banking system into something else, and we will all benefit out of it. Maybe it's not present, but in the future it can happen, and for sure we need to discuss more about it, why it's happening, what is current situation, and what can we do with that. So it's a very good perspective what you're sharing. Let's get back. You said about the cars and
Yeah, yeah,
apartments,
yeah.
if
Back to
this
the assets.
assets or
Yeah, yeah,
or
yeah.
debts. It's I would say a bit contrarian opinion that a lot of people, in essence, yeah, cars, apartments, it can be a debt for you. Your unless if you buy the car, you put this in the
Like
taxi.
unless it's a taxi car, I
uh,
don't see it as an asset personally.
you don't see it as an
I
asset.
don't see it as an asset because I need to.
It
Uh,
generates some money.
it doesn't. Like if you're just using the car for yourself, it's not an asset in the sense that you have to pay insurance, you have to pay road tax, and you have to pay gas every single month. And if something breaks, you also have to pay for that. And on top of that, it doesn't generate anything because you're just using it to, I don't know, go to eat something out or go to the job, to back and forth and whatever. So in the process, you have an expense tied down to your ass, and that's not an asset. An asset would be if I have that car, and let's say I rent it out,
Yeah.
or let's say it's I give it out to a taxi driver and he pays me some interest back. Then it becomes an asset because, yeah, of course, I can have the same expenses, but I don't need to pay. Like, let's say I even have those expenses. Let's say I pay for the insurance, I pay for everything. The car is mine. But at the same time, I don't like the amount of interest and profit margin it generates. It covers all that and some surplus. And in that sense, the car is working for me.
Exactly.
I'm not working in order to pay for the car. So, and to make matters worse, imagine you have like a leasing. It gets even worse because you're also paying interest to whoever you took the car from.
Yeah. Unless if you, as you said, if you're renting out and you generate some money out of it, and it can be an asset. But this is the contrarian part that interesting to say your point of view as well. Don't take necessarily this, from the financial point of view. For us, apartment or car, it can be not financial asset, it can be emotional asset. And let me describe more.
Yeah.
Look, we are staying here in a very beautiful apartment. You are excited by being here. You can live in a better apartment. You can live in a more, not that qualitative apartment. But you decided to live there because of the emotions, because of the energy that you're having, because of the location. And the same I would say with the cars. If you are very passionate of the cars, And I can take from my personal experience. I dreamed about the car that one day I will get there, and I have this car, and I understand this is not a financial asset for me. I'm losing money on it, but it creates a very positive vibes for me, a lot of energy, a lot of emotions. I fulfill my dream, and so on. And maybe this energy indirectly will help me to generate more money in my, profession or other activities. On even more contrarian point of view, if you take this car, you feel yourself more confident.
Yeah.
And or on the other side, you're taking the car, you're taking the loan, and you're feeling stressed, pressure that each month you need to reimburse this loan, where you need to pay the principal amount, you need to pay interest amount. So your mind shifts, your mind is stressed, and this stress couldn't be navigated in a good way. So your mind, your brain will find some solutions to increase your revenue, but it will can get you to depression as well. So it's kind of risky, but it's a storytelling, as I said. If you can create a good story out of it and actually deliver it, and you will show that, look, I'm getting better with that asset, which is not considered as an asset, but indirectly it will make me more stronger, confident, more attractive, and so on, more happy in general. But in my general main profession, it will also result positively.
Yeah, but if you go back to banks, they're sneaky enough to consider that an asset, in the sense that, let's say you want to take a loan, they will bargain your apartment and your car as if it was an asset. And let's say you're not capable of paying the loan, then they
Yeah.
will sell that asset at a lower cost, a much lower cost, in order to compensate for their losses. And yeah, that's why you can't really treat it as an asset unless it is a real asset. But I do get the point with the sentimental value of any kind of, let's say, goods you have, you own, and whatnot. Yeah, going back to the, because I still had this question in my mind which I haven't asked you. Going back to banks,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if you noticed or not, but a lot of banks are like, let's say, a bit in a panic mode, in the sense that they kind of try to get as much gold as possible. And I'm wondering, what's the backing behind that? Why is gold still considered the standard? Why is there such a concept as the golden standard? And for those who don't understand finance, economics, and whatnot, like, what's the story behind gold? Why is it the thing which backs most banks? And why is it more valuable than cash, for instance?
I don't follow that much, what's happening and what are the decisions behind them. But historically, there was a story that gold has some value.
Yeah.
Why gold? I don't know. Why it's not maybe diamond well pressured? It also has a very big value. And when you have the ring with a big diamond, then it increases some value. And in the end, market decides, and you need to not. You can create the market, you can follow the market, or you can be out of the market, and everything is right. You don't know what's gonna happen in the future. So historically, gold have some value. It can be speculated, and the banks can take some reserves in form of the gold, just for the, diversification. If something happens, we have this leverage to implement if there will be some case.
Yeah, but when shit hits the fan, ultimately it's all about gold. For some reason,
Maybe
like, if you,
eventually cash is king as well. So when you have the
yeah,
cash,
but
you
when
can
you're
solve the
printing a lot of
problems.
cash, like, if you take, even if you take the most powerful country on earth, and you have this petrodollar system in place where everyone's transacting in dollars, and as a result, everyone needs dollars to buy and transact. And then if you're the US Treasury, you can just fucking print money, print money, print money, which increases inflation, which devalues everything you buy. And then how is cash king if the same cash you had yesterday is no longer the same after 1 year? Whereas if you take gold, it's relatively the same price over the years. It's just increasing in accordance to the devaluation or valuation of a certain fiat currency.
You can also say it about the crypto. It can be
Crypto,
increase, decrease, and so on. It's not that stable. Maybe stable coins are more
no,
or
if you
less.
take gold, it's way more stable than crypto. Crypto
Yeah.
is like, especially Bitcoin, I think it was 120K, and now it's like 60 something K. It's very speculative in that sense.
I think that the key message here is trust, and gold is perceived as a well trusted asset.
Yeah.
And you need to earn it, you need to win it. We are not speaking about the
also
gold in
limited.
general. We can speak about as a persons, as a human beings, as the companies. Trust a very powerful asset. I don't know whether we can calculate it or so on, but if we and a lot of people trust in something, it will create some value around it. And apparently gold is still very well trusted.
I think the trust has to come with the fact that it's the same amount. Like you can't print more gold.
Mm-hmm.
And because it's scarce, it's a scarce resource, and you only have what you have, and that's kind of it. Then that's what the value is, right? If you only knew that, like, there's, I don't know, 100 bottles of this kind of wine, it will never be produced again, it will never exist again, then all of the sudden, even though the value rises over time, it's still only going to rise over time because there's only so many of them. And as you said, trust is a big component. Like you need to have some kind of a backbone system where you can trust and say that this is the reference point for what value is in the first place.
Yeah, interesting that you mentioned about the wine. You can also invest in wine and to build it not, as a consumer product, but actually as an asset. And I didn't think about it. So we covered about the skins in the games where you can build some wealth there, but you can also build from these simple things like wine, some production, and when it's some limited edition and a very good story behind it, it can increase in the value.
We definitely have the best. I wish we have drank some wine on this podcast, but
let's try it next time.
Yeah, you're a driver, so I definitely understand. Like you have to choose the comfort of wine versus the comfort of you getting home back. And yeah, I heard you. Next time we'll definitely do some collection or whatever. I kind of want to lean to a closing, but there's still so many questions and curiosities and whatnot, which I obviously didn't follow, but that's not the point. A V2 is coming anyway. It seems like you have a lot of experience in the financial world. Wondering, is there any, like, what's the most expensive mistake that you've experienced in your experience?
I don't have one because I'm quite conservative and I pay attention. I didn't got the chance to access a bigger risk or to put a big bet, and maybe this is my price, and maybe can be a potential expensive lesson that I have not accessed some of the opportunities at the time or without, I don't know, due to the lack of experience
You
or
didn't buy
due to the
Bitcoin when it was
timing.
$5.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
you post factum can say, what if I have done this and this, I could had done to this result. So I don't have, a bigger losses or some stressful situation that I cannot sleep and constantly think about it. I'm quite okay with what I'm doing. I am building, my journey, my story, my track record. And when the opportunity will come or when I will create this opportunity and luck, hopefully I will be in my best shape to access it and to not be that, loser who didn't access it, who didn't do it, who didn't try it, and so on. So yeah, I think that everything is ahead.
We talked a little bit about debt, assets, and whatnot. I'm wondering if you're of the same opinion or not. Are we living in a debt-based economy? meaning everything that's being transacted around the world is basically people indebting other people, and what's somebody's liabilities, somebody else's, let's say, success/profit.
I think debt is a great tool if it's used in the productive way. So there are countries who with a very big debt, and it can be considered as a risky, but it also be considered very productive, and it will return just a little bit later, and will generate some wealth out of it. If there is a debt which is used more as the consumer type, I don't know, where you wanna to pay for the going to the vacation or to buying something that you don't need, and you are going through this debt with a low payment capacity, then this is not great tool
But you could
for
take it
you.
the same way with the government. Like if you take, for instance, any government, what happens a lot of the times is they don't decrease the government. A lot of the times they just increase the government costs. And those costs typically will lead to higher inflation as a result of that, because you have deficit spending. You're basically spending what you don't have, and what you don't have can be borrowed from the people through bonds, or even worse, you can take it from banks. And it also depends what kind of banks, because in our situation, in our country, it's even worse because the government is borrowing money from private banks, and the interest is quite high on private banks versus, and you increase the national debt by so high. And my question would be, shouldn't people be alarmed by that? And like, what's the culmination of that, right?
Yeah. So if you take the debt and you don't provide some return of it, if you use the debt as a consumer thing,
Yeah,
even as a person, as a government, to pay some invoices and so on. So if you don't put your economy based on investments, if you take the debt, you invest it, you create new working force, new products, you generate some wealth there, then it's good. When you are making that, to for the money laundering, to covering some deficits or losses, it can go to the default that it's a failure to meet some obligations.
yeah. I don't even see, like, personally, the debt I see we take as a country is refinancing. Like a lot of the debt, we, of course, it's deficit spending as well, but a lot of it, to the most part, is just refinancing. You're taking a debt to pay the old debt.
Yeah. So,
So
well,
you're
this is
just
the state.
surviving in a sense, but at a higher expense year by year. And you mentioned default. I'm wondering, should we expect a default in Moldova? Because the way things are going, it's not like, what's the limit?
Of very hard to say. I don't think that the country will go to default. I don't remember a lot of examples in the world that a country
I think Greece was
will.
one of them. Was it?
But still, it's alive. It's not a closed country.
Yeah,
It's
but
not
if you were
deleted from the game.
no, that's fair. Of course, like you have default, everything starts from scratch. You might potentially have, I don't know, new currency or same currency, but I don't know. Like I don't know what to expect. I'm just like, okay, maybe it's not the smartest way for me to keep my, let's say, cash in Moldovan currency, because you don't know what the fuck is gonna happen to the currency.
For sure, we are not the most safest country in the world to keep the money in, but our rating as a country is increasing. So we need to take into consideration there are some rating companies,
Yeah.
Fitch, for instance, that we compare ourselves with Montenegro, with Albania, and if we going back and see our track record, we are making the progress. Are we doing enough? I think we can do more in
Yeah.
order to not be in the state of catching up the developed countries. We are still developing. We are still have a lot of stuff to do. We need to grow much more aggressively, faster and bigger, and so on. So for sure it's not enough for it, but it's a progress. So it's not something that it's declining or is going to default. It's a slow growth. It's not like venture story where you grow as a
Yeah.
hockey stick, but it's still let's hope that everything will be good.
Let's
that,
hope nobody steals another billion.
Or you can be the person who will implement some policies, will influence and so on. If you see yourself as a political person, be part of it, you can contribute to it. Or you can be just not that harmful, as I say, don't steal the money, don't make something that will contribute to the debt or to the national laws or to default. And eventually take care of yourself, take care of your family, of each other. And if we as a community, as a nation, will work together, if we will have very good leaders with very good ambitions or with a bigger obsession for the growth, I think everything will be fine.
As somebody said, if you're not part of the solution, you're automatically part of the problem. Yeah. So it's good you have this ambition / hope for the country, for the future. I guess I have to be the devil advocates anyway. So we've been talking quite a lot about finance, work, and whatnot. Wondering if there's anything you do outside work. You enjoy any hobbies, books? By the way, about books. Yeah, but no, I'll ask that afterward. Or should I ask it before? No, I'll ask it now. Is there, since we've been talking so much about finance, is there a financial book which you think people absolutely must read in order to be more financially educated? Because a lot of people, sadly, are not financially educated.
Man, I'm the wrong person to recommend. I don't read books that much. Fortunately or unfortunately, I'm the person who learns a lot at practice in the real life. There are some books for sure. I can recommend some of them, but eventually you need to have some experience. You need to have some, low points, high points, and out of it to iterate. So this is my experience. And what is interesting part, that we as a persons, we don't we read less books because we read more alternative sources. Like right now, the world is more focused on the short content, reels, articles,
Yeah, but that also
podcast.
stimulates mediocrity and stupidity. Like you take a look at what kind of content you see on not LinkedIn, on TikTok, and all these short content platforms, TikTok, Instagram. Like you see a bunch of stupid idiots dancing, like shit like that. You either see a bunch of sex being sold to you as a man, or you see a bunch of stupid guys trying to make a point or
So
a
this
joke.
is your responsibility to filter out and to select something that can be useful for
or
you.
I can just not be there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And for that, I don't read a lot of books.
I was expecting, I'm not sure you heard or not, Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
I didn't read. I read
It's a small
maybe.
it's a small book. It's a small book. I highly recommend it. It's really, it's not like diving very much into like the world of economics and whatnot, but
It's something that from history, from the Egypt or from the Babylon.
no. It's like a real story about a guy, and the idea is about how his father was basically teaching him how money is bad, and he had another boss which he called the second father, which he taught him a lot about how money can be working for you instead of you
Yeah.
working for money. It's a really good book, highly recommended. But I just thought it's a good opportunity for, like, because I know a lot of people don't, they just use money. They, I don't know, have a job, use money, kind of works. I can buy whatever, I can save some money, but fundamentally don't understand how money works worldwide. And then when shit hits the fan, you kind of need to be prepared. Especially we live like weird times, like wars happening, like instability is the definition of 2024, 2020, whatever. I'm not sure when this is going to end, but not, doesn't sound like stability to me.
Yeah, financial literacy is a problem here regionally overall, and I mean, I'm repeating myself, but you can see it as opportunity. You can create a solution for that, whether this is a book, whether this is an ed tech app for the financial literacy. Maybe this is a school where you can implement all this stuff there. And my mindset is more, business oriented. You shared a lot of problems. I will go back home and I will reflect how can I solve them.
That's very, like, I need to learn from that. I'll be frank, because I am a lot, like, I see a lot of problems. Like, I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't like that. I criticize this.
And that's it.
And to the most part, that's it. Like, I might think, okay, I can do that better, which is also a way to see, like, this is a problem. I can do it. I can solve it, right? But to the most part, I'm very critical of things. And you're like, by having this attitude, okay, there's a problem, it also means there's, on the flip side, there's an opportunity. There's something I can do with the problem. So I need to learn more of that. Like, see a problem, how can I? At the same time, you don't want to pick up any fight. Like, you need to pick your fights, right? Like, some problems are not worth picking up.
Yeah, or maybe timing is not right. So totally true.
As I said previously, there's still so many things I want to talk about, but you gotta, make ends meet, places to go and whatnot. So I'll just close it with one final question, which I ask everyone. And that is, what is your final piece of advice for anyone who's watching, anyone who's anyone who's maybe interested in finance, in how do they better manage their money? As you said, and promoted this idea of problem solving, of seeing everything as a potential solution to the problem, because we are living in a interesting country where you have more problems than solutions and opportunities compared to other countries, for instance. So what would be your final piece of advice for those people?
Yeah, you said about to make it a financial one, and there is a disclaimer. This is not an investment advice.
We forgot to say that.
Yeah, do your own research.
Yeah.
So I think that the general advice would be not about the finance, but in general about the life. I mean, take care of yourself. Be sure that you are in very good shape, you sleep well, you eat well, so you can perform, and you can take care of yourself, you can take care of your family, and so on. So you start with taking care of yourself, so you can give more to others, and you can inspire others to give back, and you can get as well. So that would be a very simple piece of advice. Just take care of yourself.
Yeah, with that, I very much agree. And thanks a lot for coming over, sir. It's been a pleasure and an amazing discussion. A lot of things for me to learn from, and definitely requires a V2, because I'm not sure if I covered like 40% of whatever was planned for this session, but it's been an enjoyable discussion.
Thank you, it was fun.
Ladies and gentlemen, this was VUnstaged. If you found any value from this video, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. And also make sure to check us in the next one. So this was VUnstaged. Keep your mind open and your source unstaged.